If you load in the included scene file with this lesson, and select the terrain in the scene and edit its material function, you will be able to see this function. This function is primarily made up of the new color variation map node and a couple of other nodes connected to it. And what we are going to do is create a meta node out of these. Select all of our nodes, leaving out the final input and output nodes. And if we go up to the top of the screen, we're going to find two new buttons. The one on the left is Create Meta Node. So if we select this option, we're now going to have a meta node in the scene. And what this is a container and basically a new type of combiner node to combine any type of node all into a new function. With the meta node selected, we can find it has 4 buttons in its options. We have an edit option, which will allow us to open up the function and modify anything inside of it. The lock option will lock your meta node so it can never be edited again. This option is primarily here for distributing content and any meta nodes you create. We have a save option, which allows us to save out our function and our meta node, and then also a load button, so we can load in other meta nodes when we have one selected. If we select to edit our graph and take a look at a selected node, you will find next to every extract function button, you will now find a publish button. When selecting this publish option, you're given the ability to define a name, so you can enter in any name you want. And we're just going to go through these nodes and extract some of these different options. If we click OK to close out the function editor and close out this graph, and now take a look at our meta node, with it selected, what we can see is every value I've decided to publish. Any names you give the published value will now show up with the meta node selected. This will allow you to build extremely complex functions and access any published command just by selecting the meta node without having to go into the function and edit it. So if we take a look at the connections on the side of our meta node, we can find there are quite a few. It can get a little confusing at this point when you're trying to select your connections. In this case, I would recommend extracting the function to create a constant node for the current value, and then use your links for those connections to other nodes. There are currently 3 different ways we can load in meta nodes. In the bottom of our left toolbar, we can find a Load Meta Node button. We can also right mouse click in the main function window, and on the bottom of the list find a Load Meta Node button. Or we can select an existing meta node and load in one of these saved meta nodes. If we go back to the top buttons, where we have our Create Meta Node option, to the right of it we have an Ungroup Meta Node. This will allow us to return the function to the main graph that we're working in. And in some cases, when working with certain dynamics nodes, you will have to ungroup them in order for them to update in real time within the scene.